A lot of young men get into relationships completely unprepared because someone somewhere told them that being ready means having a good job, a good physique, or having their life together. And don't get me wrong, those things matter, but not as much as the four things I'm going to give you in this video that every young man like yourself needs to know before getting into a relationship. But before we get into them, let me paint a picture of why they matter first. Think about it. You spend weeks or even months preparing for a 3-hour exam, but almost no time preparing for something that could last your entire life, which could either make you better or make you worse. If you're in your late teens or early 20s, you are the exact age where the decisions you make about your relationships will shape everything that comes after. Most of the things you know about relationships, you didn't learn them, you absorbed them from maybe movies, social media, your parents, or what you saw growing up. And most of it isn't true. Here's something most people tend to miss. You don't find the right person, you become the right person. The relationship will reflect who you are, which means whatever you haven't worked on, whatever you haven't dealt with, will definitely show up at some point. Most men think about what they want in a relationship, and very few ask the more important question: who do I need to become to be the best partner I can be? Because being in a relationship is a call to serve, and that shift alone changes everything. Because a relationship isn't just something you get into, it's something you show up to. And how you show up depends entirely on who you are. So, what does that preparation actually look like? I'm going to be sharing this from a Christian perspective. But whether you share that faith or not, what I'm about to cover applies to you. Here are the 4 things you need to know about yourself before you get into a relationship. Number 1, know your patterns. When I say patterns, I mean the things you do over and over without realizing you are doing them. How you actually show up, not how you think you show up. How you respond when there's conflict. How you communicate when things get tense. How you handle rejection. Most men have never seriously asked themselves these questions. So when they get into a relationship, they find out the answers the hard way, but at someone else's expense. So if you've never been in a relationship before, here's what you can do. Pay attention to how you show up in every other area of your life. How do you handle conflict with friends? How do you respond when someone lets you down? How do you act when you feel ignored? That's your patterns showing up. And this isn't about fixing everything before you get into a relationship. It's about knowing yourself well enough to understand what you bring into the room. For me personally, when things get heated during a conversation with someone, I need space and time to process what happened before I can respond properly. That's not me being weak. That's me being self-aware. Somewhere in the book of Proverbs, it says, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. Your patterns reveal what's actually in your heart, not what you say is there. And self-awareness is where it all starts. Knowing how you behave is one thing, but acting without knowing what you stand for is just you reacting. Which brings me to the second thing. Number 2, know your values. When I say values, I mean the non-negotiables you live by, regardless of who you're with. Not preferences, not nice to haves. The things you won't compromise on. The values you haven't defined become the compromises you make. Most men have never sat down and seriously asked themselves, what do I actually stand for? So they get into a relationship and one of 2 things happen. They compromise things they shouldn't, or they realize too late that they are with someone who doesn't share what actually matters to them. Somewhere in Matthew, there is a story of a man who sowed good seed in his field. But while everyone was sleeping, an enemy came and sowed weeds among the good seed. At first, everything looks fine. But when the crops grow, the weeds grow with it. Undefined values in a relationship work the same way. Everything looks fine at the start, especially at the honeymoon phase. But what wasn't clear from the beginning will grow with everything else. And eventually, you will not be able to separate the two. Here's a simple example. If your faith is a big part of who you are, that's not a preference. That's a value. That's a non-negotiable. And it needs to be clear before you get into a relationship. Know what you stand for before you need someone else to stand beside you. Now, you can know what you stand for clearly and still get in your own way because of what you are carrying inside. Which leads us to number 3. Know your wounds. When I say wounds, I mean things that happen to you that change how you think and act. What kind of home did you grow up in? What were you exposed to? Let's say, for example, porn and other things like that. Some of it was your fault, some of it wasn't. But here's the hard truth: it doesn't matter whose fault it was, it's still your responsibility. Because whatever you haven't dealt with, you will bring into the relationship without even realizing it. And that's what even makes it more dangerous. Here's how I like to think about it: a relationship isn't two broken people fixing each other. It's two whole people building something together. Two people on their own path, coming together to do something bigger than either of them could do alone. But you can't bring that if you haven't done the work to get there. And for you, that might look like therapy, an honest conversation, praying, or just sitting with yourself long enough to be honest about the baggages you are carrying. And like I said earlier, this isn't about having everything fixed before you get into a relationship. I personally don't. But the goal is to be honest with yourself, to know what you are still struggling with, and then taking baby steps to improve them before it becomes someone else's problem. You can know your patterns, deal with your wounds, stand firm in your values, and still have nothing to offer. Which leads us to number 4. Know your vision. When I say vision, I mean having a sense of where your life is going. Not having everything figured out, but knowing what you are building towards and why. Without vision, you have nothing to lead her into. So let me paint a little scenario here for you to understand this better. Imagine yourself driving a car. You have a sense of where you are going, but you don't kind of have like every turn figured out. But you know the direction. And along the way, you see a lady you're attracted to and you invite her to join you on your ride. Now, she can see where you are headed and decide if she wants to join you or not. But if you are just driving with no direction, no destination, what exactly are you inviting her into? In the Bible, before Adam was given a partner, he already had work, something he was doing, something he was building. The helper came alongside the work, not before it. Which means if there is nothing driving you, nothing you are working toward, what exactly are you bringing someone into? And here's something I want you to sit with. If being in a relationship is the main thing on your mind right now, that's not a relationship problem. That's a purpose problem. You need something to do. A relationship adds to a full life. It doesn't create one. The goal of dating from my perspective is marriage. And marriage is two people pursuing a purpose together, which means you need a purpose before you need a partner. It also helps you decide what kind of partner you need, because just any partner isn't good enough. Now, wanting a relationship is not the problem. That desire is normal. God put it in all of us. But what you do with that desire is what matters. A man who knows his patterns, his values, his wounds, and his vision is rare. And guess what? Rare is attractive. So here's what I want you to do today. Out of the 4 things we've covered in today's video, which one do you know the least about yourself? That's where I want you to start. Not all 4 at once, just one. Remember, the path is yours to walk. And as always, I'm in your corner, rooting for you.